When the United States declared its independence, it wasn't a nation fully formed. It took the contributions of many great Americans to make our country what it is today. Here to spotlight those who had the greatest impact on our nation's development is presidential historian Doug Weed, author of All the President's Children. Doug, happy 4th to you.
Happy 4th to you.
So now when we approach 4th of July, Independence Day, what thoughts start to form in your mind?
Well, for one thing, it's fascinating to me and says a lot about us that we celebrate July 4th. We celebrate the day we declared our independence, not the day we got our independence. And you compare that to Bastille Day in France or the holidays they celebrate in Australia and other countries. We could have celebrated the victory at Yorktown, that we defeated the British, but nobody gets out of school on that day. We could celebrate the day we had a constitution, or when George Washington was inaugurated, which was 13 years after the Declaration of Independence. But we choose to celebrate the day we made a decision. We are free because we said we are. We declared it and said it's so. And that's what we celebrate. And that tells us a lot about ourselves, and I guess it speaks to the power of making decisions, too.
Indeed, indeed. And speaking of making decisions and that power, who do you think are some of the Americans who most impacted our country today and back then?
Well, Thomas Jefferson you have to think of him today because he wrote the Declaration of Independence. There were other Americans involved. John Adams was on the committee, and Ben Franklin, who you just had in your studios, was on the
yes,
committee, and Roger Sherman and Robert Livingston were on the committee, but all of them agreed that the first draft, all they did was tweak it. It was Thomas Jefferson who wrote it, and Thomas Jefferson lives. He's Ron Paul. If Jefferson lived today, he would rail about the Federal Reserve. He wouldn't like that. He'd be appalled by our ongoing wars, our nonstop wars. Jefferson said, the less you use power, the greater it becomes. Compared to Ron Paul said, you sacrifice liberty for security, you lose both. So this sentiment is still in the American bloodstream. It's out there. Maybe if Jefferson were alive today, he wouldn't be elected president. Maybe he would. But he would surely have his own show on Fox News Channel.
Is that right? Is that right? Well, I don't know so much that Thomas Jefferson is Ron Paul, but I don't know. Let's go here, though. I certainly don't want to commit blasphemy, but as a historian, I'm going to go ahead and ask you this. Is there any of our nation's history that you would rewrite, if you could?
If you could rewrite the history?
Well,
we made lots of mistakes. Again, our history is more revealing of us than it is of the facts that happened. A good example is you get these emails, they go all over. I just got one. It said the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, 9 died or killed during the Revolutionary War, 5 were captured and tortured. It's bogus.
Delete. Yeah, we got to delete those.
We like to see the history the way we want to see the history, the way we desire to. And it was a very tough time and a dangerous time, but a little more complex than we like to see.
Doug, really quickly for me, what was your personal memory of your history, your childhood history of 4th of July celebrating? What would you like to do? Your favorite thing to do?
Well, like everybody else, I enjoyed the fireworks, thought it was great, and I love the food. We know we know how to live, Americans.
Yes,
we know how to celebrate.
And aren't we fortunate? All right, Doug, thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthel.
Phil, I'm out.